Nigel Mansell's everywhere. We must be in Birmingham. And what better place to start our preview for the 1995 Dunlop Tarmac Championship. This is the showpiece of motor industry, and the magnificence and size of this show is a good indication of how healthy that industry is. Over the next 4 days, rally drivers will be coming here to buy new kit, to catch up with the gossip, and indeed to make their plans for the new season. So we thought it'd be a good idea to do a little bit of snooping and to find out what's in store for us for the 1995 season. Well, the first and very exciting bit of news is that a former tarmac champion is on his way back to Ireland. Mark Lovell, it's good news.
Yes, it's great news, and I'm really looking forward to it. The last time I was over there competing actively in the championship itself was '88 when we won it. So I got very good memories, and I'm really looking forward to it. The deal is I'll be driving a Toyota GT4 in Group N, not Group A. And it'll be the same. We'll start the year off in the same car that we used on the Isle of Man, which is this car here, which is the old shape Toyota. We hope to have the new shape car, which is the one with the twin headlights and the big fin on the back, for the circuit.
And the good news is that Mark will be carrying an RPM camera for the entire season. There's been a Formula 2 explosion in the British Rally Championship, which means that we're going to see at least a dozen works examples of these front-wheel drive non-turbo cars on the Ulster and Manx events this year. Vauxhall return with the Astra and possibly later the Corsa in a two-car attack. Darlawennan will be joined by a young Finn, and I'll let him pronounce his own name.
Hello, my name is Jarmo Kytölehto. I'm coming from Finland, and I'm going to drive in Vauxhall Astra, and I'm coming to Ulster.
Also in Ulster, we should see 4 Nissans. Alistair McRae is back for a second year, Gregoire de Mervis, the former Group N world champion, and another Finn, Ari Mokinen, and I expect I'm as good at pronouncing his name as Jarmo is at saying Ulster. Johnny Milner, incidentally, will drive a 4th Nissan in Clubman spec. Martin Rowe leads the Peugeot 306 attack for the French company's new sponsor Total. And Tapio Luukkonen will fill in for Dom Buckley with Volkswagen until Dom gets back his competition licence. And there's also likely to be a second Golf. The on-off Renault involvement is on again. Alan Oriel, the former French champion, will drive along with, and is yet to be announced, British driver. Also to be officially announced, the Ford involvement. But Gwyndaf Evans and Mark Hignans seem almost certain in a Gordon Spooner RS 2000. But that's the UK. What about Ireland? So who's doing what in 1995? Well, typically it's the last-minute rush. People out to try and finalise sponsors, get the car, get the preparation deal done. But RPM has been out and about to try and meet some of the comparatively new faces who could well make a big impression in the 1995 championship. There's a lot of new faces in this weekend's Galway Top 20. At number 3, the new national champions Michael Farrell and Anthony Nestor in the Chorus Subaru Legacy.
The car has been completely redone from last year, and in fact it only arrived here this morning for the first time. So that's the first time we've seen it since last year. So we're sure it'll be, you know, I don't know. But the restrictor problem, no one really knows until Galway what way it's going to affect the cars.
The national championship runners-up, Eamon and Andrew Boland, started number 5 in the Hertz Escort.
We upgraded the suspension and the brakes, and we obviously got the engine done to suit the new restrictor.
Now the new restrictor is going to be a problem in these turbo cars, isn't it?
No, below 5,000 revs there's no difference. It's only when you get up into higher gears and 6,000 revs that there's not as much power as before. But very little below 5,000 revs, you wouldn't notice it.
At number 8, a major new challenger, the Esso Ultron Toyota, to be driven by Liam O'Callaghan and James O'Brien.
We have full Group A ex-Toyota Team Europe, Toyota Celica GT4 two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive turbocharged machine with a 6-speed gearbox, and I think we have possibly one of the best chances yet. We have an ex-Toyota Team Europe engineer, we have all the spares, we have a full package, we have a sponsorship from Toyota Ireland, Esso Ireland, Kenwood and Pirelli. Definitely we'll be a serious contender, we hope. Yesterday here in Mondello was a dream come true for me. It's my ambition to win the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship, and yesterday was a very, very special day for me and for my family. It's my opportunity, and I'm certainly going to be taking it.
Pater Herson and Ian Porter started number 9 in their Metro 604. They showed excellent speed in Killarney and Donegal last year, and with the turbo cars further restricted this year, the old Metro could be in for a big revival. Ian Greer and Dean Beckett are now in their second year at international level in their Toyota GT4. As is George Cullen and Mike Carthy in a similar car. George was the top local finisher in 1984.
We have a lot of sort of local support in Galway. Last year we finished 10th there, first time out in the GT4, and obviously this time we have an awful lot of improvements made to the car, and we would expect to actually half that. So we're aiming for a top 5 finish.
James Leckie and George Miller joined the international set in their ex-Bertie Fisher Subaru Legacy. And Stephen Murphy and Joe Deacon have not had the happiest times in their Statoil Escort in Galway.
Trying to get rid of last year's blues, I suppose, would be the big thing, but we're looking forward to Galway this year. Statoil have sponsored us again for 1995, so we're very pleased about that, and we're looking forward to a good event.
Way down at number 53, John McCluskey in the Chivago Escort Cosworth joins the Group N ranks.
It's the first time out in the car for Galway. The car is ex-David Mead car. It's full Group N spec. It's probably one of the better ones in the country, so we'll see what it goes. It's hard to get used to the four-wheel drive, but we've been doing a bit of practicing over the winter in the rallycross and stuff like that, you know, so see what way it goes.
And also look out for Trevor Cathers and Willie John Dolan in their Group N Subaru Imprezas. But it's not only the drivers who have got a lot to look forward to in 1995. The Tarmac Championship administrators and the clerks of the course also have plenty to tell us.
Well, basically, Plum, I think the success of the Dunlop Tarmac Championship is because we've kept our options open. We've catered for basically all the cars that are competitive in Ireland. We haven't kept any out. We've introduced new classes, and for that reason, I think that, you know, judging by the entry for Galway, the Statoil Galway International Rally, if that follows for all the other rounds this year, it's going to be quite extraordinary, the interest this year in the championship.
Well, there are a number of things new in 95. The junior section, the age has been increased to 29 years of age for the competitors. We've a ladies section, ladies award, and we have class 13, which will cater for the likes of the Celica GT4 and the Escorts with a 7-speed gearbox.
I think for most people in the city of Galway and surrounds, the highlight will be the Statoil Spectator Stage. For possibly the rally enthusiasts, they could still see the Spectator Stage and see the other stages around the county. They're, as usual, tight, tricky, difficult and probably wet. At the moment we have, I think, 130 crews ready to start this event, which includes 12 or 13 in the historic section. Many new cars and many new teams just to add a bit of extra excitement.
The main highlight for the 1995 is the fact we've now got an overall sponsor with the AA. So we've got the AA Circuit of Ireland Rally, which the club are very pleased about. It's a long time in coming, but we're back. Format this year, similar to last, 4 days running over the traditional Easter weekend, starting in Bangor in Northern Ireland on Good Friday, coming down to Limerick for the overnight halt Saturday night and Sunday night, and back to Bangor for the finish on Easter Monday.
Well, I suppose the highlights are the fact that we are using a few new stages, which, even though they were all Circuit of Ireland favourites like Bean Hill and Bellachbema, we're using them in the Rally of the Lakes for the first time ever. And of course, then again, there are all the old favourites like Malls Gap, Cara Lake, Gutnigan. All those are still included, but we're moving west and using Bellachbema and Bean Hill, and I think they'll add to the challenge of the event. Every driver have their own favourite, but I suppose the top of Moll's Gap at the first stage on each morning, it has to be, in the words of your colleague Sammy Hamill, one of the great sporting occasions in Ireland, to be at the top of the gap when the cars come up on the first run each morning.
Shell continue to support the highly popular summer event in the northwest. And the classic Knockalla stage will be on in its entirety.
There are two new things about the Ulster this year. The main event, the Friday, we're going to Newry, and that leg of the rally will be shorter than in previous years, which will give us a longer overnight halt, which people have been looking for quite a while. And secondly, we're having a historic rally. We ran one in 1991 and have learned a lot from that and done a lot of research between then and now. And we feel we can run a very successful historic event, so we're trying that again for 95.
The biggest change, which what people in Ireland have asked me for, is that we're moving back to a Saturday finish. So the rally will now run Thursday, Friday and Saturday. We've rescheduled boats to come over from Dublin and Belfast on the Wednesday and Thursday, so you can make a nice week of it now.
The Fitzpatrick Cork 20 rounds off the series, and what a highlight that can be if 1994 is anything to go by.
New rally teams, new sponsors, it's looking extremely good for 1995, but it can only work if we have safety on the stages. And the responsibility for that is Noel Clark, who's the RIAC safety officer. What are your main tips? Give us 3 good tips on safety for 1995.
The most important thing is to keep the slip roads clear, don't stand in the forbidden ground areas, and cooperate with the marshals who are there volunteering their services to help us keep motorsport safe.
And remember, the unexpected can always happen in rallying.
So while we're shopping at the show, what should we be putting into our plastic bag? Well, there are suits and boots of all shapes and sizes, but maybe we'd be a little bit wiser to spend our hard-earned cash on some new technology.
For as little as £1,250 at the Race Logic stand, you could buy an off-the-shelf traction control system, giving you the ability to adjust the amount of slip on the front or the rear wheels. Around the corner at PI Engineering, between £1,000 and £3,000, will buy you some very useful telemetry. Julian Garner explains.
There's an RPM bar chart which is used to show the driver exactly what RPM the car is pulling, and that helps them to make sure that they're making the best use of the engine. There's an over-rev point here which helps them to change gear at the right time to make sure again they're using the most power, and performance information such as the stage time here and cornering information here and here, which can help the driver determine how fast they're going through particular parts of the circuit.
All this information can then be transferred to a readout to let you examine your performance in detail.
The green line is the speed, and the purple line...
Any casual observer of rallying will notice that there are continual technical advances being made, no more so than in tyre technology. But how much more development can you put into a piece of rubber? Michelin, Pirelli and Dunlop think a lot more. Tony Leake, this is your job, but what has been the significant advance, say, in the last 10 years?
Well, we've changed from the old cross-ply tyres now and gone to radial tyres. The materials in the tyres have altered from the old nylon now, and we're using Kevlar, so it's just advancing every day. Every event that you go to, something new is being produced.
There's a lot more going into a tyre these days than rubber. After the components are blended into the mixer, a little larger than your kitchen appliance, but the same principle, out the other end comes the giant rubberized licorice sticks, which are rolled and extruded, warmed and compressed. The extruded material is then cooled and rolled onto drums. Meanwhile, the tyre reinforcement is being produced. Now to the tyre builder. No automation here, but that almost forgotten skill, craftsmanship. The tyre casing starts with the beaded rings. Next, the liner is rolled onto the drum and the joint is sealed. The body ply is then added, along with the reinforcing strips, and the bead rings are now pressed into the casing. Stage 2. This is where the tread and its reinforcing is assembled. Depending on the specification, layers of carbon fibre cord or rubber-coated steel are added. Then the tread rubber is sealed, and now they must join the tread to the casing. Although the tyre looks complete, it still has to be cured. This mould finally converts it to its finished state, and a half an hour at 200 degrees Celsius and a pressure of over 350 pounds per square inch does the trick. Only after a final computer inspection is the tyre released for competition in Ireland. All this for maybe a life of just 12 high-speed stage miles.
Irish roads are very unique to themselves. They have designed potholes in them. They are very, very abrasive. So Irish roads are entirely different to a road that they will use the beginning of the Ayers Motoring News on the mountain ranges of Eppant. The road surface is entirely different.
Well, if you can design a pothole beater, Tony, you're on a winner in Ireland.
I hope so.
Prodrive is a name very well known in Ireland because this specialist company probably knows more than anyone about the specialist requirements for rallying on Irish tarmac. Over the years we've seen Porsches, BMWs and now of course their big Subaru program. We thought it'd be well worthwhile to call at their Banbury headquarters to see just what goes into the preparation of a rally car before it arrives in Ireland. Their technical director is David Lapworth. What does that entail?
All sorts of responsibilities, but first and foremost, the main thing that I'm responsible for is to make sure that the cars are faster than anybody else's if we can possibly manage it. It's the technical side of things that the development programs and so on are taking us in the right direction, and that technically we're in good shape. The actual build of a rally car is from component parts. And 90% of those components we make ourselves. We don't bring in a car, strip it down and rebuild it. We get the parts we need from the manufacturer, which is Subaru in Japan. So we get body shells, the parts that you can see on the outside. The regulations insist that the external appearance of the car, all those external parts that you can see when the car drives past, are actually genuine standard parts. But nearly everything that you need to actually make the car go faster, the special parts, the springs, dampers, pistons and camshafts for engines, roll cages, suspension parts that we manufacture, transmission, all those things, they're all original, they're designed here and we source them all over the UK. It is still very important to start with the right base car. If the car hasn't got the right sort of balance, if the weight distribution isn't right, the wheelbase or any other sort of fundamental dimension is wrong about the car, you're not likely to be able to make it competitive. It's a major design exercise. We start with virtually a clean sheet of paper. We only keep those bits that are defined by the regulations, the cylinder blocks and cylinder heads and the body shell and the external parts, and everything else we design as if it was a Formula One car, really. If we were to start on a new car, if we were starting completely from scratch, the initial burst of activity would be about 12 months. The first 6 months is absolutely diabolical. The development programs, there are a whole variety of timescales. You've got what we would call the firefighting development, the short-term stuff from one rally to the next. If you break a component on one rally, you've got to get it fixed before the next. You've then got the short-term development, which is about how we're going to win the next rally, which is mostly to do with perhaps tyres and springs and dampers and trying to squeeze another 5 horsepower out of the engine one way or another. So fairly short-term stuff. And then in the background you've got an ongoing development programme, which is anything from sort of 6 months to 2 years. The actual automatic gearbox is on the verge of becoming a serious part of the World Championship programme. We've had it in the car for 12 months. The major hurdle is to get them enough hours in a car for them to become automatic. when you're on a rally, especially when you're on gravel, even though you have made 2 or 3 down changes by pressing the button on the steering wheel, it's almost impossible to feel. The better the box gets, the worse it is almost, because you can't feel the down changes, and all you can hear is the noise of stones rattling against the floor of the car and so on. The driver doesn't actually know what gear he's in until he opens the throttle again. More and more the emphasis is shifting away from traditional sort of mechanical engineering into control systems and, you know, electronics and software and so on. This year, for instance, in the World Championship, we're going to have 3 cars on every rally. So effectively we build 3 new cars for each rally. The only parts we carry over that we use more than once, certainly without a complete rebuild, of the body shell and so on, and even they have to go for repairs. We might use the body shell 2 or 3 times at our level. I guess it takes, I think it currently takes us about 3 weeks to put a car together for a rally. We don't struggle to find customers for our cars, but the type of customer, I guess, for our cars has changed over the years. There are perhaps a few more professional non-works teams than there were who can maybe cope with running these cars. There is a demand there that at the very top level the sport should be something very attractive. On the other hand, there's a whole army of people who are trying to run cars at a sort of a national or lower international level that want to be in competitive cars but could never really come up to that level. It's a problem that the sport has to face up to. You will never be able to get the amateur with a very small budget in exactly the same car that Colin McRae and Carlos Sainz are driving.
We've been to the Prodrive factory and we've heard about the latest advances in transmissions and gearboxes, but now I'm actually going to get to play with it here at the show. And this has got to be the ultimate computer game. Watch this, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, down we go. But the man that's going to have to use this on a rally stage is Richard Burns. Over to you, Richard. You haven't actually used one of these in competition yet.
No, it takes a long time, obviously, to develop it and make it absolutely perfect. And they've been developing it for a while now, using it in testing. But obviously, it also takes a little while for the drivers to get used to it. So it may well be a little while before we see it actively in competition.
So this really is Sega Mega Drive.
Let's hope so.
So those are just some of the things to look forward to when the new season starts. But now let's look back, not this far back, but back to the 1994 season and remind ourselves what this magnificent sport is all about.